Okay, my friends, so we are going to be coloring our cakes now. You're going to be starting with chalk pastel first. Now you want to grab the chalk pastel. There's two types of pastels we're using. Okay, oils are going to be after you use your chalk. And you'll know you have the chalk because it won't have any paper around it. Typically the chalk has a different feel, so it's kind of like a chalk on a chalkboard, whereas the oil pastels, which we're not starting with, those have more of like an oily feel to them. So using your chalk pastels, we're gonna be pushing really light on these, okay? Because we don't want a whole ton of chalk dust on the table. So I'm gonna start with a color that I really like and wanna put in my cake, and I'm thinking I might start with like a green first, okay? So I'm gonna pick a spot and using the side of my chalk, if I can, I'm gonna pick a spot and I'm gonna cover it with that first color. Now, basically we made different kinds of shapes inside of our cake, so I'm just filling in the outside of the cake. Think of it in terms of part of the cake. You have the frosting, the inside, and then you have the top frosting. So you want to make sure that you're changing those colors as you go to make it interesting. Okay, so we want variety with our color. Now I want you to notice that I didn't push really hard on this, okay? In the past when we've done chalk, we might have pushed a little hard on it, but with this you're pushing just nice and light using the edge of your chalk. Now you're going to take your color wheel, find your color, and then you're going to decide what color you're going to put on top of that color. We are going to be blending colors that are next to one another on the color wheel. So if I have green that I just used, I can either use blue or yellow, okay? I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use like a blue. All right, so I'm going to go in with my blue. And using the edge of that chalk, I'm also just lightly pushing. Okay, so now I'm going to do the inside of my cake a color, so I might want to do, this time I will do some yellow. And sometimes your chalk might be a little dirty, like you notice I got a little spot there. You can always take an extra piece of paper and kind of clean it off first before you begin to use it. So notice how I'm going with the shape. I'm moving the direction to go with the shape that I'm filling in. So I have the inside of my cake now colored in, and I'm going to find an analogous color to yellow. If I'm looking at the color wheel, that's going to be either orange or green. I think I'm going to do orange, so it really separates from that green. Now sometimes you might find colors that are kind of in between, like this is an orange red, that's fine. As long as it's kind of towards the orange side, you're okay. All right, so right now our colors are kind of, they're not really popping out, but you don't have to worry about that. They'll pop out later. All right, so I think I'm going to actually maybe go in and do a little bit harder on the green because I want more of the green to show in this. So at this point, if you do want to push back in a little harder with one of the colors so they pop a little bit more, you can do it. And notice too, I'm not, using the chalk like this because if the side of my hand rubs up against my paper, it's going to smear that chalk. And you can even tell I already have some fingerprints here, so you have to be really careful with how you're using this. All right, and now I'm going to do the top, and maybe I'll do the top like some kind of fun purple color. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over at this point. You can save the background for oil pastels. If you do the chalk pastels in the background, you're gonna risk really smudging things. So I just do a nice coat of analogous colors in the cake and then I transition over to oil pastels. So I'm gonna pick out a color to start with and I think I'm gonna use that blue. And the first thing I wanna do is outline portions of my cake so they really pop again. I'm going to outline this part. And now on the side of that cake, the two sides we're going to do some kind of lines or designs. And whatever you do on one side, you want to repeat on the other, because you have to imagine that this line is going all the way around, okay? So that's called, remember, symmetry. We're creating symmetry. You also want to make sure that if you are doing lines, no straight lines, okay? Usually when you look at lines or designs in a cake, they're rounded because the cake is rounded. So I'm just going to go in, and I'm pushing really hard on this. I'm going to do some nice frosting designs, maybe create a pattern. Okay, I'm gonna do a green. You could do different lines for me if you want. I'm just going in and doing, now obviously you can tell that yellow didn't really show up because the contrast wasn't that different from my green. Right, now I think I'm going to go inside of my cake. So you're going to have to draw out that center line because you probably covered it, okay? And remember, we're going to put in our parallel lines. Okay? So now I'm going to decorate the top, and I'm just going to keep going and adding some cool designs with my oil pastels. So I'm going to go back in with the chalk because I realized I forgot to draw the plate for my cake. So I'm just going to fill my plate in with the color and then go back in and do some designs. Okay, so now for the background, I'm going to have, I didn't do the cake stand, so what I'm going to do is just fill the background in with some oil pastels, and if I want to do some analogous color blending with my oil pastels, I can. That is completely up to you. And just like with the chalk pastel, if you want to use the side of your oil pastel to fill in large areas, you are more than welcome to do that. Okay, so when your cake is done and you think it looks good, ask a friend what they think, if there's anything you should add to your cake, and that is the end of the project.